All right. It looks like we are up and running a little early, which is good. So, excuse me. I'm going to try not to cough too much today for those that are watching the video. I want to welcome everyone to the monthly live webinar that I do. I do a kind of a public webinar every month that deals with something with digital painting. And so this is October's, and the great thing about October is Halloween. So we're actually going to be doing some Halloween themed stuff. More specifically, we're going to look at how we can create templates that we can use for carving Halloween pumpkins. You know, excuse me, you've probably seen them online. Those templates that you can like tape to your pumpkin, and then you cut out the black areas, and then you've got something cool to look at rather than just the triangle eyes and the the triangle nose and the triangle mouth. So this is a little more fun, I guess, and you have a bigger more things you can choose from. So that's what we're going to do. Before we go any further, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you check out the excuse me, it's going to be one of those days. Check out thedigitalpainter.com. That's the website where I host all my videos at, along with obviously my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be using ArtRage today as long as it behaves. If it doesn't behave, I have some backups. I just recently purchased a Wacom Cintiq tablet, and some programs seem to work better than others. If at any time you have any questions, feel free to put up a comment on the YouTube page. If you're watching this at the website at thedigitalpainter.com, if you want to make any comments, what you're going to want to do is head over to the YouTube, the actual YouTube link. All right. So again, my name is Terry Daniel-Jakimak II. I'm the Digital Painter, and I'm hosting this today. And you're going to hear my cats being maniacs in the background. So I apologize. It's that time of day for them to run around and try to take everything down. All right, let me adjust my microphone here. Now you're going to look at me sideways because my Wacom right now is over here. So, but you get to watch the screen, which is actually a little more important. All right. So like I said, I am working right now in ArtRage. Let me know also if you have any problems hearing what I'm saying. I'm working in ArtRage, which is a program that actually is the first program that I used to create videos with that was desktop based. I did my first videos using Procreate, and we're going to be using actually the pen tool. You see it down here, because I find the pen tool works best for this sort of thing, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating very solid blocks of black. Now, these types of things can actually be done in, for example, you could do this in Illustrator, you could do this in Photoshop. You can really do this in any type of art program that you want. So don't look at this and go, oh, well, I don't have ArtRage, I can't do this. This can really be done in any art program. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find an image. Now I'm going to show you one that I've done already. My image here was Shrek. Okay, great little cartoon character, fun. And you can see, what I've done here. There we go. Oh, definitely going to have to move my microphone to the other side in the future. But you see here, it's just a picture. I found it on the internet. So he looks really cool. Say hi, Shrek. Donkey. I got nothing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I take down the opacity. And that's about 50%, because I don't want to be overburdened with how strong the coloring or anything like that is. And what I start to do is I start to look at all of the dark shadow areas. And so you can see, for example, shadow area here, shadow area here, here. You can see a big shadow area there. And then what I did is I went over those shadow areas in blocks of color. Now you'll notice, for example, the nose, I ended up doing a lot more on the nose. That's because we want something that's very definitive. I could have done less. I could have gone more detail, but this time around I went for a fairly big block. You can see that I've blocked in all of these areas. And then if I actually turn off Shrek, there we have. Now, what would I do with this? I would print this out, and I would then tape it to the pumpkin, and I would carve it out, right? So all the dark areas would be hollow, and that's where you would see the light through, Okay, and we have a pretty good image here. Now, the advantage we had with this image is that the shadows were fairly strong. You could see here, here. I mean, the shadows helped me decide, okay, these are the areas that need to be blocked out. These are the areas that are going to be most prominent. And yeah, so what happens if you have an image that doesn't? So for example, Pikachu. So this is where you have to take a little bit of your own creative license and figure out, okay, where can I do big blocks cut out of the pumpkin that will still give us the feel of Pikachu? And if I click up here, you can see I went for big blocks. I've got a fairly decent outline of Pikachu, and now I've got Pikachu here ready to go. So how do we do this? Well, the first thing, like I said, that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go online and find an image of some sort. So I'm going to bring my folder over here, and let's do a search for, what could be something fun to do? I'm going to do an orc. We'll see what comes up. Go to images, obviously. And what you're looking for here is, it literally can be any type of orc. I'm not going anything specific. I'm just kind of looking, and I'm going to peruse and look at shadows and highlights are what is important when you're doing this. Where are the shadows? Where are the highlights? It's not a very big picture. I also like to find a picture that's fairly substantial, so that when I'm doing all of this, I can get a good sense of the picture, and I can zoom in and zoom out. Here we go. This is a good one. So I'm going to go ahead and view the image. Then I'm going to save the image to my downloads folder. All right. So we've done that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, if you're using ArtRage, it has this handy dandy import image file to layer. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to look for my image, which should be in downloads. And why am I not seeing it? This is, I know I just downloaded it. I'm going to look again, the JPEG image in downloads, save again, do it a second time. There we go. All right, so you can see here that it downloaded onto the layer right here. I'm going to move it over a little bit. I'm actually going to zoom out. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to come bigger. Now what I'm going to do. All right. So I'm actually going to adjust them. Actually, no, we're going to leave them. We're going to leave them like now. Yeah, we're going to leave them like this. Okay, so we have the image now. We're all set. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take down the opacity. Now, this is not a great picture because, as you can see, I lost part of his head. See up here? So, you know, sometimes it's better to have something with more of a head. My guy does not, but it's still manageable, So I'm going to use my pen tool, and notice here I've got my smoothing. I'm going to adjust my smoothing up a little bit, okay? I like to have it smooth as I'm doing my outlines, and I don't want the pen to be too thick, so I'm going to actually take it down to 1. So now we start to look at this image, and the first thing that you have to decide is which parts want to be the cut out parts, which parts are not. And there's a lot of things that you've got to think about on a pumpkin. You have to think about, okay, are these parts going to be manageable? Am I going to be creating too thin of areas of actual pumpkin where it's going to fall out? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do some tracing of some areas. And I'm on the wrong layer, so I'm going to undo that. And what you want to do is you want to do this on a new layer above it. There we go. I've got black ink. Yep. Okay. And the reason that I'm doing smooth, it looks like I can go a little bigger with my brush size, is so that, oops, that's too big. I need to find the happy medium. Let's go 3%. And I do go silent a little bit when I'm drawing. And you need to make sure that you're connecting all your dots because we're going to do some general fills that will, if you haven't connected the dots, they'll fill the whole screen. You don't want that, I promise. Let's see, I zoomed out a little bit. And what we're doing here is I'm just giving myself some outlines. These are not going to be what I actually fill in right now because what I'm looking for is I'm just trying to get a sense of the shape. Oops, don't like that line. And this is the problem. Apparently it doesn't always want to read my pen. I have to look at that later. Ooh. So here's some nice shadow here. There's some nice shadow here. Okay. There's a good old shadow area here. I do look for shadow areas, okay? Because the shadow areas, again, these are going to be the parts that you're going to end up cutting out. Now you do have to be careful because, again, you don't want to cut out so much that it's unrecognizable. That was a terrible line, but I'm going to leave it for now. I'm starting to get a sense of what I want to do with my cutouts now. Now, one of the things that I haven't talked about is you've probably seen some of those pumpkins that you kind of layer the pumpkin. We're not doing that right now. What we're doing are full cutouts. So you either will have pumpkin or not have pumpkin. Don't be afraid to not follow completely exact. You'll see it. There are times that I just kind of go, eh. For example, those two will be cut out. I like that. Oops, didn't like that though. As always, if you're watching this live, make sure if you have any questions, you let me know, whether it's about settings or what I'm doing, why I'm doing it that way, that kind of thing. Right here, I'm just gathering some of the shadow areas. Okay, so what I want to do is I use the fill tool. And see right there, that's what happens if somewhere you don't have a complete connection. And I see where I don't have my connection is right there. And I think up there. There we go. And I tap twice. Okay, you see that? Because if you only tap once, I've got my spread at 0. So you could take your spread up. That doesn't quite do it. Okay. So again, that's an area that I would cut out. Looking down here at the bottom, I'm trying to think about, okay, what areas would look good cut out and which, oops, didn't want to do that. Forgot to switch. And that about a dozen times. So for example, I'm really thinking that I'm going to cut out. Now you have to be careful. So for example, if I go ahead and fill in this, if that's my cutout, you can see in the center area, that is just going to fall out. So there are points that you have to sometimes make connector lines. So if I'm looking at this, what I might do is I might decide, take my eraser, kind of erase in here. Actually, ideally, let's see what happens if I do this. And I didn't close my lines. I picked a really difficult drawing here. This is crazy. You saw my Shrek was much easier to do. But this was me thinking, oh, this could be a lot of fun. So I'm going to fill that. Okay. I like that. So that would be a hole. Oops. So these are all holes right now. And I like to sometimes turn this off to start to see what I'm looking at. Now here's one of the tricky parts. So I really like this tooth here, but if I just fill it in, we're really not going to see that tooth. Let me see what it looks like. So, you know, if I do that, it doesn't really look good. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put a spacer in here. So what I'll do is I'll take this. And just fill that in. Now, again, you got to make sure, see, I didn't do this perfectly. So I've got to come in here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I got to make sure that I give myself, there we go. So now we'll be able to see both those teeth. And then I could actually come in here. Let's give this a little more of a, I'm gonna draw it in. No, I'm not. I'm gonna use the fill because I have smoothing on. There we go. So now we have that space there, right? So that space will allow us to cut both those teeth out. Okay, that. Now I also want to do the teeth up top. Now this is going to be a little different because what I'm going to do, I'm just going to combine all these teeth. Now the problem there is my smoothing's on too high. So I'm going to undo all that. I'm going to take my smoothing down. That's better. And we're just kind of filling that in. And then what I'll do is I'm actually going to come here. And we're actually going to connect. We're going to connect to there and there. Fill that in. And I saw where I didn't complete a line. All right. Maybe clean up some areas like that. Then we're going to zoom out. Again, we're going to turn this off just to see. Okay. So one of the things that I just thought of here, okay, is we're going to erase this line here. Erase this line here. Starting to get a really nice, I mean, look at the open mouth. Now, if we really wanted to, I'd love to get that tongue, right? Come in here. So what we're doing here, if you notice, is we're actually doing the opposite. We're leaving the dark areas and cutting out the light areas, which is fine. That's just another way of doing it. Do a lot of cleanup on this. Need to do a little bit of eraser. Now you could come back and do some of this cleanup that I'm doing later if you wanted to. I like to get a good picture of my image. So what we could do here is this is where you can take some, artistic license. What I'm gonna do there we go. There we go. He's looking pretty wicked right now, right? What I've done is turned off the back, and I'm just going to smooth up some of my lines. So this is where all the light will be coming through. All right, let's come up and let's look at his eyes. When I do this, I tend to leave the actual pupil in connection. There we go. Because then what you can do, you can come up here. And you have to be careful. You got to make sure that you leave enough. We can do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to zoom out again. I'm going to turn off. Look at that. Starting to come along, right? Okay. Oops. Zoom back in. Now, I'm looking here. I'm not sure how I feel about that shadow that I did earlier. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a really thick line. You can have thin lines too. There we go. Then we come over here. Looking for more shadow areas. So what we can do here, right? So I'm going to zoom in. Really, this should be filled in there. But I still want a sense of the nose ring. So I'm going to look to see how I can play that, right? And what we could do is just very simply and what you have to do is you have to leave, again, a connection spot. And we may be pushing our luck a little bit here because the connection is not very strong. You know, it's a very thin piece. But you won't ever know until you actually try. So again, I'm looking at this. I'm not a big fan of what I've done here. So I'm actually going to erase a bunch of this. And that's fine. You know, if you look at something and go, nah, you can always come back and, I mean, how hard is it to redo? Not. I'm going to leave that there, though. I'm going to see what else I can do in this area. Looks like I got some nostril here, right? And what I'm going to do is that looks a little better. There we go. That's better. Now we've got much better sense of his nostril. And again, we can come in here and I'm just going to do a little bit of... Now this is stuff that, I mean, literally you're just taking your knife and running it through. You're not going to be able to do much else here when you actually create. So just be aware of that. I'm going to flesh this out a little more now that I have space. And actually come switch to here. I'm going to erase some of this. Now that I have a better way of doing the nose, I'm going to actually erase the entire thing. And I'm going to come around. When you come around. There we go. Go ahead, fill these in. These are his earrings. Okay, that's looking that's looking pretty wicked. Let's go ahead and leave his face for now. And let's go ahead and do some of his armor over here. I like this. I'm gonna zoom in. Now I'm just gonna go pretty blocky here. Oops. You could really do this in any number of ways. Now his hair is tricky because you can do texture on top or you could go in. What we're going to try and do, we're just going to look to see what works. So I'm going to zoom out. This is going to be a kind of a... Again, you have to kind of be aware. We're just going to kind of go around his earrings. Where did... Oh. I hate when I think I've got everything connected and I don't. There we go. So that would be his hair. And then you could come in. Looking at this, I really think we need to do this furrowed brow. So furrowed. I am an orc. I am furrowed. If you really wanted to, I just saw this, you could come in with his eyes like this. Oh, now he's looking menacing. Very, very angry. And again, all of our black areas are our cutout areas. I know I've said it once, but I like to repeat myself over and over again. I don't know how I went to workbench mode. Let's see, what else? So let's look up. We've got some nice... Oi. One of the things you might notice is I do the fill twice. That's just to make sure that I'm getting it completely filled. There we go. Come in. A little of this. I'm coming in. I'm going to just do a little bit of detail here. If I'm going to use the pen to do detail, I turn smoothing off. I feel like we need to do something at his other side. I know we can't see much of his other side, but we're going to kind of base it off of what we have over here. We'll see how that looks. Well, that's not too bad. That was just a guess. Do a little bit of eraser. There we go. Zoom out. Go. So you can see how it starts to come together. And you could, you could really go heavy detail right now. I could sit here. Let me zoom in. There's a lot going on. And we could do and fill that in. And you could find all the little variations, shadow here, shadow there. We could come up here. Just kind of do these little... Now, remember, you do have to carve this in the end. So one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing... Oh, this hair actually comes down like this. And we're gonna fill that. What do you think? Well, if you're watching this live, what do you think? Now, this is because of the type of picture it is. It's only a half picture. What I might end up doing is, grabbing some from the other side. Copying it, pasting it, moving it. We would need to flip it. So let me remember, hit that button. And I need to transform. Oops. Oh, I need to deselect. There we go. What we want to do is we want to flip it. So, well, there's a way to flip it. Just got to remember how. This is one of those things. If you don't do it often enough, and I don't, you forget how to do things. I thought it was up here. And if you're watching live and you remember how to do it, you let me know. Oh, you know what? There we go. Right-clicking the area. And there we go. So now what we can do, I'm just trying to get a sense. Oops. That feels good. You press enter. Oh, look at that. And then maybe to finish it out, So sometimes you get to make things up, and that's what I'm doing here. So now we take this, we print it out, and we tape it to our pumpkin, and we have an ogre, not an ogre, an orc. I forgot what it is. And I mean, it's that simple. Now, one thing that I would do is I would go ahead and merge this down so it's all one image. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's do one more. I'm going to do one more. So let me see what time it is. Okay, yeah, we're doing fine. I'm going to grab a drink real quick. Now, you can see, you know, the piece that I finished. I would probably end up doing a little more work to that piece. You know, I would sit there and continuously play with it till I got it exactly what I wanted. Because of, you know, this is just being a quick live webinar. You know, I'm just kind of pushing through a little bit, but don't feel like you have to rush. Okay. Let's do something. Let's do a dragon. You know, if you want your image to look really cool, take your time. Now, I prefer to just do heads. I'm going to do a dragon head. See what we come up with. And what I'd want is a front view, something like this. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to view image again. Save image. Go back in. Again, into the layer. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to, you know what? I'm going to undo that. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it as a new image. So we'll do File, Import Image File. We will save this. We'll call this there we go. There we go. So I'm going to zoom out, and then we need a new layer. And the reason I'm doing it this way is that way we get the height here. All right. So let's go ahead and begin our work. I'm going to add a layer on the underside that is filled with white. Oops. There we go. All right, I'm going to bring the opacity up just a little bit. Okay, so this is a pretty cool image. Now, one of the things I was saying earlier is that you could do this in layers of gray. And when you do layers of gray, one of the things that you're doing is you are, when you actually carve the pumpkin, you're peeling off layers rather than putting full holes through. So something that has a lot of texture, layers of gray, is a better way of doing it. So, for example, if we were going to take this, oops, make sure I'm a little smaller. I want to turn, again, my smoothing up. So if we're going to take this one, I'm just going to follow the curve. Boom. But we want layers of gray. What I would do is I'd actually come in here like this. Follow this shadowy area. That then comes down like this. Comes this way. Let's see where else we can go. Again, if you have any questions, make sure that you type them at YouTube, because I am more than happy to answer. If you're just coming in, what I'm doing is we're creating pumpkin cutouts. You know, you take an image of something that you like, and we're going to create pumpkin cutouts. Now this time around, what we're doing is I'm going to show a little bit of the shades of gray, because that's kind of important if you're trying to do a layered pumpkin cutout. Now when you're actually cutting out a layered pumpkin, it's a little more difficult, okay? Connect right there. So you have to actively be thinking which parts are going to be the parts that I want cut out, which parts are the gray, and which parts are the pumpkin. Okay, so we've got some things going here. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, let's try. The dark areas will be our pumpkin. Our light areas will be our cutout, and then our medium areas are gray. So I'm going to add a couple more lines here. Kind of finish things out. And we probably won't do this whole dragon because it would take me a while. But I do want to show you. All right. So this light area here will be our cutout area. So this will be cut out. Okay. And then this area in here will be a shade of gray. Okay. That's what we have right now. So this will be trimmed. It won't be cut out completely. It'll just be trimmed. And then our black will be left. So then we want to go, or our white will be left as pumpkin. I'm sorry. So this is a light area. That's a light area. Light area. And we need some gray areas. Now this is trickier because you got to really think about what it is you're cutting out and what it is you're leaving. And again, the filled in black will be where the light shines through, which is the lightest areas on the image. There we go. I will say that if you did something like this, it would be pretty fabulous. Okay, so let's see how we're doing here. All right, so again, we're looking, and one of the things I'm noticing is in this area up here, if we just were to cut that, we're going to lose out on the edging. I'm actually going to come back in, and we're going to add, oh, sorry about that. We're going to add a second line here. And this is where some of your artistic licensing comes in, because we don't want to lose out. So we make the outline a little thicker so that we know that we're going to be cutting it. And that's okay, you know, cutting the outline is fine. You don't have to just do shadows. There we go. And you're allowed to take artistic license. That's important here, you know? Don't be so constrained to the image. We're going to just extend this a little bit. In fact, we're going to add a second horn. So now that'll be cut out. We'll really let the gray shine. Now the great thing with this one, because it's a mirror image, really all we have to do is half. You know, some of the ones that are not symmetrical, you've got to do both sides, but this one, you only have to do half. So again, on this outside here, because when you're carving the pumpkin, you want to have light shine through, we're going to extend the thickness of this side. We're going to draw down. Probably stop there. So then this comes up like this. And again, the whole time you're thinking about, okay, which parts are getting carved out, which parts are not. Turn off the dragon. Remember, gray is just getting trimmed. It's just getting kind of, you're carving halfway in, and then your black is you're fully in. You know, these are full holes. The black is where your light is going to come through the pumpkin. It's important to think about that. You know, what do you want your pumpkin to look like? What do you want your pumpkin to look like? Well, I'd like it to look like a pumpkin, but with a dragon face. I'm going to come in here. Again, just kind of give myself a little bit of an outline here. What I'm actually going to do here, go ahead and fill in the middle with gray. Again, that way we can get some really nice looks there. There we go. All right. And again, the cool thing about this is you can actually flip this and copy it. Now this is our lightest area. So it gets dark. Now you could have done this much simpler if you wanted to, but I decided to kind of go full out on it. Now, because of the outline of the image, that's why I'm doing a lot more of the outline in on this. Like if you looked at the previous with the orc or with Shrek, there was a lot less outline. But because this is not quite as well known a figure, my feeling was, you know, you've got to have a little bit of that outline. Let people know what it is. This one would definitely take some carving. And as always, make sure you clean up things, you know? It doesn't have to be perfectly clean because you will be, again, taping it to a pumpkin. But you do want it to kind of, oops. You want it to kind of have everything that you want it to have, right? And then again, what you're going to do here, you're actually just going to undo that because that was silly. Grab the box tool. Then you're going to copy. You're going to actually edit, paste in place. Oh, it automatically does. Then we're going to right click, flip it horizontal. I didn't do too great of a job. Let me undo that and fix it. I don't like how that looks. Oh, I see, because I've already gone over that half a little bit. Well, that's my fault. That's not too bad. I'd have some fixing to do. Whoops. Oh. Uh-oh. I just lost everything. All right. So I've managed to do something on my computer that made everything disappear. Oh, okay. So this is funny because I don't know what I've done. I'm probably still recording. Oh, different desktops. That's what it is. Multiple desktops. I forgot how to do it though. Multiple desktops, Windows 10. How to use them. How do I switch between them? And there we are. I'm back. Well, that's going to be funny for the replay. All right. Well, I hope that this has helped you out. This is just one of the ways that you can do pumpkin carving ideas and decorations. I learned this the first time a long time ago. Did one for Homestar Runner, which was a website that I frequented. This was back when I was in grad school, and it was fabulous. It was a lot of fun to do, and since that time, I figured out how to create my own, and now you can now create your own. If you do end up creating your own, please go ahead and let me know. I would love to see what you come up with, because I think it would be really cool. If you are one of my patrons or members on the website, remember you can post them on the Facebook page, which is The Digital Painter. If you haven't already gone and joined it, make sure you do, because I'd love to see what you create. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to contact me. My name is Terry Dana Jachimiak II. I am The Digital Painter. You can either contact me via YouTube comments or go to the website and leave a comment there, or you can email me, and you can email me at terry.jachimiak@thedigitalpainter.com. All right, that's going to be it for this week's or this month's webinar. I hope you enjoyed, and I know I did. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you take care. Continue working on your art.